It's going to be a global overview.
Do you want it on a new piece of paper?
Yes, please. Then the, let's see, I guess it'll be the politics dissad, the state's counter plan, the Iraq oil dissad, the advantage, and then solvency. Our stance at the end of this round is that the plan is disadvantageous for several reasons. The first is the Iraq oil dissad, and the second is the argument that solar power manufacturers dump toxic waste in China. The affirmative has failed to prove that they can actually solve their case because they've conceded several arguments about the viability of solar power, and they've also been unable to prove that their harm is actually real and probable and current threat. However, we've proven that the Iraq oil dissad is going to cause nuclear war. Even a risk of this dissad means you vote here because they haven't proven that solar panel is going to be effective enough to solve all of these sort of resource conflicts and genocides that they've outlined. Any risk of the dissad means you should vote negative. There's also another reason to vote negative, which is, again, the solar power manufacturer's turn. Now, onto the state's counterplan. We're not going to go for the state's counterplan. Our stance is just the status quo, and we say that the status quo is better because of the Iraq oil dissad. They don't extend a reason why it's abusive for us to run the state's counterplan. She says it's unconstitutional and would be struck down. She also says that the states can't act in unison. However, we've provided several examples in the literature. The uniform child, the act that our Abram 80 evidence indicates that the states can work together means this wasn't abusive. They didn't extend a voting issue here means you shouldn't vote us down for running the state's counterplan. It's key to topic-specific education about federal versus state action. Now the politics dissad.
I gave it to you.
Oh, where? Oh, okay. On the politics dissad, they say that there will be no healthcare until 2010. This means that their link turn isn't applicable. Even if they boost Obama's political capital, it's irrelevant because this issue won't be debated until 2010. There'll be plenty of other issues. Also, extended alternative energy has come now. That should have already boosted Obama's political capital. There's no reason that the plan would be a unique increase in his ability to pass healthcare, and healthcare won't even be debated on until 2010. Now onto the Iraq oil dissad. Again, our story is pretty simple. Our argument is that oil prices in the status quo are high enough to sustain stability in Iraq. They're using the money to fund things like police force and forces which maintain stability there. However, the plan would lower oil prices for a couple of reasons. The first is that oil producers, if they see that the U.S. is investing in alternative energy, it is more investing in alternative energy, and there's more investment from the government, then they would extract oil more quickly and increase supply, which would lower prices. They also concede that they lower oil prices. This is an argument that she makes on the healthcare dissad about how they would help the economy. They're trying to assert that they don't do this. However, they are saying that in order to address the economy, they would lower oil prices. They've spotted a complete uncontested link to this. Our McKillop in 8 evidence indicates that Iraqi stability is dependent on oil prices, and without high enough oil prices, Iraq won't be able to avoid civil war. The civil war will change in other states. That was the explanation of the Corsi card. Our Corsi card evidence indicates that other countries will take advantage of instability in Iraq and use the sort of troubles that this will cause for the United States to assert their dominance there. This war will go nuclear. This impact is uncontested, and you should give it full weight in the round because we've won a link. They say that weak dollar guarantees high oil prices. However, they're not contesting the specificity of our link to their plan. Our link evidence talks about how alternative energy investment drastically decreases the price of oil. They say that OPEC can't fill supply. However, there's no explanation of how this interacts with the dissad. Our evidence indicates that suppliers currently have the capacity to flood the market. This would drop oil prices. Even if you're not buying that OPEC can flood the market, they still concede that they would have to lower oil prices in order to solve their case. They also say that the Iraq war was over-resourced, and that's an example of their affirmative. However, this isn't true. The conflict and the instability in Iraq would be caused by differences between ethnic groups there, like different groups of Muslims, the Sunnis, and Shiites are going to be the problem in the civil war, not conflicts over oil revenues. Now, onto inherency. their impact calculus is pretty impressive, but you don't give it any weight when they've conceded a couple of arguments about why the peak isn't coming. If they can't win that the peak is coming, they can't win either of their advantages. Our argument is that they can't win their genocide impact because they say that the perception of finite resources is driving countries to invade. That's what all their evidence is talking about. If there's no perception of finite resources in the status quo, they haven't provided any examples in the 1AR. The 2AR is too late to do this. Additionally, they're not going to be able to win their peak oil because we've extended our simile and 6 evidence. This cites studies that say that this says that there are multiple studies that have concluded that peak oil is a constructed threat and it's not coming in 2010. Additionally, the one in our card is really devastating for them. It says that current capacity is not a good indicator of how much oil we actually have because new reserves are constantly being discovered. You should really, our technology solves evidence is really good. It talks about how oil manufacturers use many things to be able to come online, and that evidence indicates that technology is always, oil producers are always finding new technologies to solve back. Now I'm going on to solvency, just extend our ENN and 8 evidence, which indicates that components used in U.S. solar power manufacturing dump toxic waste, and that is going to cause a bad instability for rural Chinese population.